4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on this knife, and this is the Sniper Bladeworks Mamu. And first of all, a huge thank you to my brother for loaning this knife. He got this while on a trip and was really excited about it and was kind enough to loan it to me to do a video. And to be honest, I've taken a long time to get to the video. So huge thank you for loaning it, and you know, sorry for taking a while on it here, but it's a cool knife and one that I wanted to show off. So first of all, it comes in this kind of foil zipper pouch, which reminds me of the type of foil pouch that's used for heat treating. And then I think also some other tactical gear like magazines and things like that comes in this same type thing. But you can see here it's a tactical fixed blade. There is the Sniper Bladeworks logo. There is the signature and the Mamu. So this is a big, heavy knife. It's about 18 ounces, so that's, you know, well over a pound, and you can feel it when you're holding this knife. It is pretty significant. It comes with a molded sheath, as you can see, that has a tech lock. I don't know if this is a branded tech lock. It's not, it doesn't seem like, but it's basically the same thing. It locks in here. You press this, you can open it, and you know, you can attach it to your belt, which is nice because you can take it off of your belt without taking your belt off. I always appreciate that in a sheath. And then you can see the sheath is fitted pretty well to the blade. You can see the grind lines and the swedging and stuff like that. And then it's held in by these two spots here, which you can see inside, hold against the guard area. And it does have good retention. I wouldn't worry at all about this knife coming out, you know, just from normal walking around using it, things like that. But here's the blade. So again, it's very big. It's about a 5.5-inch blade, but as you can see, it's very tall in this direction. So it's a large blade that you get on this knife, and especially being that it's 0.2 inches thick. So definitely a knife designed for hard use. Now you can see that it has a coating. This is a PVD coating, so it should last really well. And to get it out of the way pretty quick here, for those who watch this video and say, oh, you didn't use it, you know, why make a video if you didn't use it? Well, I didn't use this knife. Like I said, it's my brother's, and I'm not gonna, you know, beat the heck out of a knife that I'm gonna give back to somebody else. So I'm gonna go ahead and base my observations on observing the knife rather than on, you know, fruitlessly beating the heck out of it for no real reason. But as PVD, you know, as coatings go, PVD is a good coating. It should hold up well, and it does look nice. It gives it a matte look that in the product description they talk about being, you know, non-reflective. Also will help with corrosion resistance because the blade is 1095 carbon steel. So it's not really a super steel, to be honest, but it's a steel that will rust if, you know, allowed to stay wet and things like that. So the PVD coating will help with that. And it is going to be a pretty strong knife because of that. 1095 is generally a pretty tough steel, especially when well heat treated, which you can assume that this is. The other thing that's going to make this blade particularly tough is that, like I said, it's 0.2 inches thick, and it's not a full flat grind here. So you can see it has this saber grind and then a pretty strong midsection here that is full thickness. It does have this area, which I'm not exactly sure what that's for. It might just be an aesthetic thing. Some knives in this kind of type of you know, usage have a breaking area where it's for like breaking bones on an animal that you're, you know, processing, but I don't really think that's what it is. But then it has some nice swedging, some nice drawn swedging on both sides of the blade there. And the grinds do look pretty well done. And to be honest, one thing I was actually pleasantly surprised with the grinds themselves. It seems like it's ground relatively thin considering, you know, the usage profile of this knife. Now it has a pretty abrupt belly here. So overall, I think that this blade shape really reminds me and indicates to me that this is a field knife, a camp knife. And that's kind of what they advertise it as a field knife. or what I would call a camp knife or a camp chopper even. You could definitely, you know, do shelter building with this, chopping branches, building, you know, impromptu shelters, as well as other camp type things like food prep or splitting wood, batoning wood, things like that. I think that this would work great for that. That's especially true because of the handle. So moving on to the handle here, this is kind of a, not a trademark, but a brand identifier for Sniper Bladeworks. They have this kind of downward canted handle, and it's made to be very ergonomic and to help with cutting. And I think that it would do both of those, particularly in chopping and other camp tasks like that. So when you hold it, it actually angles the blade downward because the handle is angled downward from the blade. And you can get a really good grip on it. You can see that my thumb sits really comfortably in this area here. It fits really well. I've got wide, I don't really have long fingers, but I have wide hands and it feels really comfortable. I've got lots of extra space. You can see nowhere near, you know, the handle being too small, but the guard makes it so you don't have to worry about your finger slipping forward if you're doing any chopping tasks and things like that. This just feels like a very solid handle. It is G10. It has a little bit of texture on it, but not a whole lot there, and it does have some machining. So more so the shape of a handle is what will make it, you know, stay in your hand than the actual texture. And I think that the shape that is, you know, kind of unique to Sniper Bladeworks will be really great for that. This isn't going to slip out of your hand very easily, even in those more strenuous tasks like chopping. The other thing with the handle here is that it does have these divots, which I believe are for fire starting. So you can put a stick, you know, into that and use this as a pivot to, you know, start a fire. Now that's something I've tried when I was younger, never really got it to work very well. So I don't know how practical it is, but it's a cool feature to have and certainly doesn't take anything away. It even might add a little bit of, you know, texture to the handle to help hold it in your hand. And then one last thing with the handle here is that it does have this really generous finger choil. So you can choke up pretty well on this blade. And I think because of that, although it's a pretty big knife for this task, I do think you could use this as a hunting knife, maybe for like big game like moose or bear or elk, something that's, you know, takes a lot of blade to skin and process. But I do think you could use it for that, especially, you know, with this forward finger choil and this very large jimping that it has. So the main thing with this Sniper Bladeworks Mamu that stands out to me, and I think probably what stands out to you also, is that it's a very, very large knife. It's a hefty knife that's designed to be able to be really heavily used and taken in stride with no issues. And I think that it hits that mark. I mean, I think that you won't have to worry about this knife breaking really for any reason. It's very heavy duty, thick, and wide blade, and no big, you know, types of cutouts on the blade that would create stress points other than, you know, maybe this and the grind. So I think it's just going to be a super tough knife, and it's also a knife that is relatively exclusive. So they make these in small batches, and you know, they can be a little bit tough to get, although they do seem to be available right now. And the price at dealers that I've seen is $230. So it's not an inexpensive knife. It is a knife that reminds me of a Spartan Bladeworks. So this is a Spartan Harsey Model 2 that was given to me actually by a friend of the brother who loaned this knife. And it reminds me of the Sniper Bladeworks, or I guess the Sniper Bladeworks Mamu reminds me of this knife. Now, this knife is more expensive. It's got, you know, a higher end blade material, and it's got micarta rather than G10, and it is more expensive. But in the construction, in the styling, in the coating, and the construction of the handle and the grinding, all of that type of thing really, you know, reminds me, and I think that they're comparable in those aspects. So if you're familiar with Spartan knives, then you probably will have a good idea of this Sniper Bladeworks Mamu. So I have enjoyed getting to see this knife. I think that I would enjoy also getting to use it and really, like I say, beat on it, baton some wood, chop some trees and stuff like that. But you have to be respectful of people's knives when they loan them. And again, I really, really appreciate it when people loan knives. Certainly when a brother who has given me knives and all kinds of things like that, I really appreciate it. But also in general, a lot of people have loaned me knives and I really appreciate it. So thanks again to my brother for loaning this Sniper Bladeworks Mamu. I hope you've enjoyed getting to check it out like I have. If so, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you know when I post new videos. Also check out my social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.